Drifting for most is a term usually associated with lilos, suntan oil and lazy summer days. But for the die-hard few, it has a whole different meaning. For the adrenaline-fueled motorsport fan, drifting is an up-and-coming sport that demands skill, experience and a certain amount of showmanship. So, for the uninitiated, what is drifting all about? Drifting is a style of driving where cars literally slide round corners with all four tyres bearing the brunt of some truly punishing forces. The drifting action occurs when the rear wheels skid or slip at a greater angle than the front, requiring the driver to skillfully turn the steering wheel in an opposite direction to retain control. Keeping the vehicle in this skidding sideways position where the rear wheels continually appear to want to overtake the front wheels is the goal. For the professional, this driving technique requires a delicate balance of speed, throttle control and the ability to judge the depth and angle of approaching corners, a skill which demands a lot of practice, the right type of vehicle and ample space in the event of things going wrong, which they do regularly. So where did this tyre-screeching, rubber-burning lunacy all begin? As a professional sport, this is very much the new kid on the block, with professional competitions only really making the news in the last 10 years. Many attribute its origins to the rural mountain roads of Japan, where unskilled petrolheads risk life and limb to participate in challenges and illegal competitions. Needless to say, the risks involved were great, and for many the day resulted in a not-so-happy ending. But in the late 1970s, the sport was legitimised, and now Japan is recognised as the home of drifting. Today, drifting has evolved into a competitive sport, and top-level competitions in Japan, the UK and the US are judged more on technique and style rather than first past the post. Angle of the car, the speed entering a bend, speed through a bend and speed exiting a bend all count, and the more tyre smoke the better. There are also points awarded for style and coolness, judging criteria more associated with figure skating or gymnastics. However, on the back of all the energy and excitement the professional sport generates, drifting has recently found itself at the centre of a much more controversial issue. Like other Main Street motorsports, drifting has attracted the attention of a particular element of male youth culture. However, unlike other Main Street motorsports, hundreds of thousands of pounds of mechanical hardware are not required to participate, and there is a developing trend of illegal drifting on public roads and highways. Car parks, industrial estates and quiet rural roads all tempt young, inexperienced drivers with powerful rear-wheel vehicles to chance their luck. So what is it that attracts young male drivers to this potentially fatal activity?
Well, it's just like any other extreme sport, you know, you get that sense of achievement if you do it right, and even if you don't, you get the sense of buzz, thrill and excitement. I mean, when you're driving a rear-wheel drive car, and especially when it's wet and there's nobody around, it's just so tempting to just put your foot down and drift instead of drive around a corner or roundabout. And it's that's the moment that the adrenaline runs through your body, and it gives you that kind of buzz, you know? It's like BMXing when you're in the air, and if you manage to perfectly land a jump or a trick, it's the same thing with drifting. It just feels so great when you manage to control an out-of-control car. It's that adrenaline, that's what it's all about. You get hooked after a few times of doing it. It becomes a hobby and you just can't help but do it. That's when I feel most alive.
Skirmishes between male youth drivers and the law are nothing new, but this particular strain of dangerous driving is now recognised by the police and local authorities as a growing problem. Should the sport, at least in part, take responsibility for this mad new craze that is drifting?